What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum. Now, before we start the live show, we do have one guest at the very least, which is Slick James Johnson. How are you doing, Slick?
Good morning. How are you?
Very well indeed. Very pleased to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Anything exciting happen over your evening?
Not really. Something kind of interesting happened this morning, though. I decided to pop in on Discord to see what was going on, and they asked me about yesterday's show, your show. So I told them about Bob the Science Guy and how he tried to pull off a trick and got caught in it. So that conversation progressed, and we got into this, the flat Earth discussion, and it was just more of the same. Them trying to pull off tricks, and me catching them in the trick. It's like I'm beginning to understand this whole thing is just one big trick.
Absolutely. Well, and the victim status that they claim, and you're talking over me. I really appreciated your backup yesterday, because someone, I think it was 10th Man, or maybe it was AJ, I can't remember who it was, and it doesn't matter. No, it was Warren. It doesn't matter though. Said, well, why didn't you just let him get to the end of his example? And I pointed out, well, the second he said 100-foot building, or he actually said 100-metre building, it doesn't really matter. But as soon as he assigns an actual size value, the actual size does not change with distance. So he's essentially removing perspective from his example. Now, I've got two choices when I hear him doing the old switcheroo. One is to sit and listen to him telling the audience with a deceptive piece of information substituted right at the beginning of his example, or jump all over him and say, I'm not going to let you do this. Why are you going to make an example having spent 10 minutes detailing how the angular size can make things disappear in the distance, i.e. as things get further their angle reduces, and then immediately substitute that, which you've discussed with Ranty, for an actual size which won't change at distance, and subsequently removing all aspects of perspective from this calculation. So I'm not going to allow that. I'm just going to jump all over it as soon as I spot the magic trick. Rumpus would do it in the first breath. He'd get the trick, the actual magic trick, immediately out there and then carry on with non-stop babble. Well, that non-stop babble is something that I can do without if I've already spotted the trick. And you, fortunately for me, were immediately there going, no, good, you should jump all over them when you see the magic trick. Don't let them carry on with their magic trick like it's okay to have swindled you if you know what the swindle is.
Right, because that's their whole point, is to continue on, because once you continue on with them, now it gets all washed up in the mix, and they get to sort of put across a message that seems like it was real, but it was just an illusion. But people don't pick up on that because the trick is now already done.
Right, they want to get into, I was just going to say, they want to get into the intricacies of what comes after the magic trick and argue about that indefinitely.
Right. Like part of the conversation we were having this morning, I was having a one-on-one, and then somebody else decided to step in and make it a two-on-one. Now, when they stepped in, they both got confused, and then they tried to blame me for the confusion, and I pointed that out to them, but see, that was the trick, was to make it confusing. See what I'm saying? But I caught them. And then once I called them out on it, the whole thing fell apart.
They want to confuse the point. So I've even seen it on Jose's channel where literally the two ballers that know that the point is a complicated one that has an answer that's quite damning to their position, they'll obfuscate each other so that the point gets totally confused while they're giving an answer that seems concise at first, because it is, but it basically pisses in the face of the people who understand the example. So in the case that I saw, we've got them detailing the Coriolis effect with hypothetical examples of wheels and stuff being thrown off these wheels, and it's like everything you're detailing is two reference frames a Coriolis effect, which is real, but based on an Earth that has no Coriolis effect and has no distinction between the ground and the air in terms of them being separate reference frames, with one spinning underneath the other. But they'll obfuscate each other because it's such a damning point that it must be lost in confusion. The Coriolis effect on Earth, that is. Hey, Paul. Hey, Nathan, how you doing?
Hello.
Hello. Good to have you.
And
8
see,
minutes.
and also that's why people like what's his name, Zender, comes on with all that nonsense, because they know that that's all they have is nonsense. So they try to come on and just try to whatever. I can't say that word for the life of me.
Obfuscate.
Yeah. They just use that to the bitter end. And like you said, that's what they do. They help each other, they bail each other out, because it's all a trick that they're all in on.
It does seem that way sometimes, but I think it was 10th Man in this instance that was saying, well, no, they are caught in cognitive dissonance. They're holding two positions that are mutually exclusive. They can't both hold true at the same time. And when it gets to us pointing out that to them, they just laugh.
And I understand that, because it's hard to tell, sometimes who's actually pulling off the trick and who is actually just not really sure of what's going on. Sometimes the lines blur, and it's easy to mistake one for the other. I understand that.
Yeah, it's about how you unravel their trick. So in the case of Bob, the fallacy guy yesterday, he, like I say, spent 10 minutes discussing how angular size works. And you're like, right, so you've just literally gone through a conversation with Ranty where you explain that you can calculate the angular size of a flag in the distance and how it will disappear from view due to its angular limitation. Right, where's that in the calculator? It's not needed. It's like, well, you've just explained how stuff in the distance can disappear with angular size, and your calculator details things disappearing in the distance. Why on earth would you say it's not needed unless you were performing the trick? And then when he's like, oh, well, I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. It's like, I don't need to think about anything. Think about what? Long pause. He's like, well, do you want me to explain it? Are you going to keep quiet? Long pause. Right, if you've got a 100-metre building. It's like, you bastard. You're just here to trick us. You obviously know the trick. You know stuff can disappear with distance. You've detailed it and argued about it with Ranty. And now we're into ignoring it by using 100-foot buildings or 100-metre buildings. Like, no, you're just a liar. You're here to trick the audience.
That's why I said, because I picked up on this double speak. That's why I said nice catch, because you caught him. You know exactly what he was trying to do and just nipped it right where it should have been nipped, right in the beginning.
Yeah, the ones who are good at it will do it right at the beginning, because then the trick normally slides, and if you interrupt them at the beginning, they can play the victim card. Oh, I didn't even get halfway through my example, I only got 10 seconds in. It's like, well, in the first breath, you've immediately hijacked perspective. I'm not going to allow that. I'm not going to allow you make an example that pisses in the face of 10 minutes of arguing about how angular size can cause things to disappear in the distance. And then when questioned, oh, it's just not needed. Well, that's not a good enough example. It's not a good enough answer. It's the whole point that we're making, hijacking of perspective. So stuff getting smaller till it disappears in the distance is asserted to be Earth curve and only Earth curve in the Earth curve calculator, when clearly some of these ballers, at the very least, Bob, the fallacy guy, understands this. He understands that stuff can disappear. There are other causes of stuff disappearing in the distance. Why aren't they there? Oh, they're not needed. Well, yeah, they are. Just a liar. Just a deceiver, swindler, snake oil salesman.
Yeah, it's like you're having a discussion about whether the Earth is a globe or not, and they start off the discussion with the Earth is a globe. Now let's continue from there. you know.
That's funny when you get somebody less educated in the argument, though. So a few times I've used this example. You may not know the guy, but Gary Awesome basically used a false equivalence when I explained that space is a second law of thermodynamics violation. So he says, just because I've not been to Paris, would I assert that Paris doesn't exist? It's like, well, that isn't somewhere that's existing in a second law of thermodynamics violation. The problem with his argument stance is that he's under the automatic assumption that it's okay to beg the question. We all know it's a sphere, so it's okay to start with that premise. And it's like, no, that's a begging the question fallacy, to start with your outcome. And to say, well, we know it's a sphere, here's a picture of them looking at the sphere. It's like, you've not taken that picture, it's from a second law of thermodynamics violation, not comparable to Paris. But the argumentation starts with what we've been brainwashed to do. Automatically assume it's okay to beg the question and assume we're on a sphere.
Exactly.
Right, 3 minutes. We're live.
It's funny, too, how they think we're kind of in a constant state of defending the flat Earth. They don't even give it an opportunity to prove whether the flat Earth is true or not. It's all they act like it's an assumption, but all of us on this panel or everybody that's on the show usually didn't start out this way.
Yeah, that's definitely a point that's often missed.
Right, I'm sending a link to this guy called Craig, and Dearth put me in touch with him. I don't know who the guy is. I've had a couple of emails with him, that's about it. But yesterday he said the panel was full. And I emailed him the link exactly the same as I did today, but I just want to put it on record. Should this guy say, oh, actually, it was full again, or whatever. It's like, okay, you've said you want to come on the show and discuss whatever you want to discuss. Presumably his pseudoscience models, we'll see. But he's had the link. The show's not full. He's got it in advance, same as yesterday. Just want to make that little note on the after show. I've got to be honest, I'm starting to feel the effects of exhaustion. You've got more than one kid, haven't you, Paul? You there? Clearly.
I'm here. No, I've only got the one, but I can definitely, if you're going through the sleepless nights right now with a toddler too, and I can definitely understand. I remember the sleepless nights. I remember those with Lily.
Yeah, my wife's in worse state than I am, obviously.
Is your wife breastfeeding and stuff? Or
yeah, she's constantly got a baby hanging off her boob.
But does she have to? So does she not pump so you can get up in the middle of the night and feed the baby too, or does it not work that way?
Well, I haven't tried yet. We tried with Eleanor and she was a bit reluctant. But when my wife went back to work, it was obviously it's that or nothing, right? Express milk or nothing. I'm afraid I can't give it you.
No, I understand. When Lily was born, they automatically. Alice breastfed for almost a year, and she was also on supplemented formula because Alice wasn't producing enough milk. So technically, when Lily would get up, I would just get up in the middle of the night and give her a bottle of formula and put her back to sleep, so it helped Alice. So we'd be trading off.
Right, there's an abundance of milk, so right, I better start the show. Click. What do I need to do? Yes. Start page on. Hope there's no issues today. Yesterday I had nothing but issues when I was trying to record the show. It was an absolute nightmare, but hopefully we don't have the same issues today. I've still got about 20 seconds. Don't like to be early. That said, I'll probably start and everything will crash. Hopefully not. I've made a load of adjustments and done a load of test streams yesterday, so this should work perfectly. Come on, please OBS, let me have a decent live show that's stress-free. Right, 2 o'clock.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum. Most importantly, if you'd like to join this discussion right now, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now we are joined by Paul and Slick James Johnson. How the devil are you both?
Good morning. Good morning.
Doing good.
Excellent stuff. Any signs of Earth-based curvature?
Nothing, just a trick.
Yep, no doubt, no curvature. Did you see, while we're on that subject slightly, did you see P-Brain kind of commented on the video that was shared yesterday about the boat going over the horizon? Did you see that?
Yeah, I did, yeah. He gave a very big shout out to me as well, so thank you very much indeed, P-Brain, for the shout out. He had my head put on top of Incredible Hulk, and like Mr. Muscle style globe head, and he basically said that I'm smashing globe heads around left and right, which I don't think isn't true, but there we go. He pointed out that the boat isn't actually getting any smaller as it's alleged to be going over Earth's curvature, so if it's disappearing into the distance, why is it staying the same size? So maybe we'll have an answer to that. It was something that Anthony did bring up on the show. So, yeah, big shout out to P-Brain.
I thought it was good. He put them bars on there, and I thought, if we did that more often and doing measurements, I think we could see things, a little bit more, get more information. You can move on.
Any signs of axial rotation, again, of the Earth-based variety? Hey, Sleeping Warrior? No sound, Sleeping Warrior.
Yo.
Hello, good to have you. We're only at axial rotation.
What was the shout out for P-Brain then? I didn't, something to do with Anthony picked it up on the show. I didn't quite catch it because I was on my way in. What was that point you were saying?
P-Brain basically posted. Oh, go ahead, Anthony. Go ahead, Nathan.
No, you go ahead, Paul.
P-Brain took that video that you posted about the ship going over the horizon, and he put lines like over on the top of it to measure to see if it shrank any, and he noticed it didn't shrink at all. And then he showed how things do shrink as they go off into the distance, and how that boat didn't shrink. So it was probably not probably 5 minutes or something like that. It wasn't very long.
So what's the explanation then? Is it fake footage, or is it that something else is going on?
He didn't say. He just said it's obvious that the boat's not shrinking, and if perspective is in play, then it should be shrinking, but it's not. So that's all he said. He didn't get into depth with it. It was just a short video. I'll find it and post it in the side chat so you can see it.
Yeah, I've not seen it, but that's definitely the case. If that boat is going over the horizon, it has to get smaller as it does so. It can't just go over the horizon and stay the same size, because we do have... That's just like the perspective denying curve calculator in real world, isn't it?
Talking of the perspective denying curve calculator, I want to shout out a moron called Rory, because he's...
Shout out retracted.
So this moron has brought it to basically the audience that's been increased since we spoke to Mick West about this very problem of them hijacking perspective and calling it Earth curve in the side profile, begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking curve calculators, which all work on the same premise and all work on the same mathematics and all exclude perspective by using actual sizes of a target which will not reduce with distance, which is the effective perspective or the angular size. Well, this effective perspective has been very much hijacked, so it's definitely not included in these geometric calculations. Hint, hint, clue is in the title, geometric. Nevertheless, we've been covering this subject with quite a few ballers because it's been raised by one of their own side, who is, as I state, a moron, and assumed incorrectly that perspective, something we experience in our day-to-day lives, and when we take a picture of anything or film anything, is included when it's not. Now, if I was a globehead and wasn't aware of this, I might be like Rory and wrongly assume that, well, if it's based on reality, of course it'll include the effects of perspective. Presumably that's why he's made his £5,000 challenge and then vanished into thin air when it's been absolutely slam dunk proven without any any question that there is no perspective in the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking curve calculator. So for anybody who wasn't aware, yes, the effect of perspective, stuff disappearing into the distance until it very possibly disappears because it's too small to see due to its angular size, has been ignored and hijacked in your curve calculators, which only use actual size. So you can put a Rubik's Cube on a flat surface, push it away a mile, and it will eventually disappear due to its angular size. Nothing to do with Earth curve, but were you to plug that into the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking curve maths, it would most definitely assert that it's gone to Earth curve, because that's the only claim it can make. Nothing disappears because it gets too small, ever. It only disappears because Earth curve's got in the way. So yes, thank you very much to Rory, a moron, for bringing this to basically everyone's attention. Maybe there was a small handful of the audience who already appreciated this as they were subscribed when Mick West came on and argued the toss, or maybe they were subscribed when Bob the Fallacy Guy came on and explained it wasn't needed. Hey Flat and Earth, good to have you.
Hello, friends.
Good to have you. What about scientific evidence of gravity? Any evidence of that?
Gravity's a joke. They can't even define gravity. I challenged people yesterday to go and look up what is the definition of gravity by science, and it's really difficult to get a coherent and consistent definition for gravity. Some people say it's a force of attraction. Some people say that it's Einsteinian curvature bending of space-time. But in any event, whatever it is or is not, it seems that you can't get a reliable, consistent definition for what gravity actually is. And it seems that they want you to argue over whether it's one style of gravity over another, completely missing the fact that neither have got any evidence to support it. So long as you're arguing over which one it is, then they're happy with that. But they're not forgetting the fact that neither of them have got any evidence to prove that they're true. So it's kind of like a red herring that they have like deliberately obfuscated definitions for gravity, and they want you to argue over them. So as long as you're arguing over what gravity is, not the fact that it exists, then they're happy.
You know, that kind of usually happens with things that are made up.
Yeah.
So I've intentionally not put the link, just if everybody's moaning that there's no link below the info box at the moment. Yeah, there isn't. And that's because a chap who's been trying to join for the last 2 days and has had an email with the link for the last 2 days, a guy called Craig, has said that he hasn't been able to join because the link's the show's full, which it often is. So at least in the interim stages between the start and doing the housekeeping, I'm just going to leave the link closed. And then if we don't get him by the end of housekeeping, I will put the link out to the public. So maybe I'll rattle through housekeeping a little bit quicker just so the public does have a chance to join. Obviously, we can't stand on ceremony for one dude, but he has had the link by email.
Is that Plexus? Is that Plexus you're talking about?
He was a guy who was on with Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. His name's Craig.
Okay.
I don't know who he is. But anyway.
All right, well, there's another guy I talked to that's been trying to get on for a couple of days, but Arwin blocked him. So I sent him the link so he could come in a little earlier.
Yeah, feel free. Like I say, there's no link for the public for the next 5 minutes or however long it takes us to do the rest of the housekeeping.
I think Eleanor's in one of those moods where she just wants to disrupt Daddy no matter what.
He's a co-host.
Yeah, she is.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, Chocolate.
Chocolate.
Hey, Chuck.
Yo.
Did
Any
you hear the
evidence
beginning,
that we
Chocolate, about the boat? P-Brain's video.
I heard it, yeah. I didn't
So
see the
P-Brain
video,
agrees
but I heard
that the boat doesn't appear to be getting smaller, and if it was dropping over the curve, it'd have to get smaller really quickly. So we don't quite know what's going on with that. It's tempting to call it fake, but there may be other explanations for what's going on with that boat. But it's definitely not going over no curve, because perspective is a thing.
Well, even if it wasn't going over the curve, if it's gaining distance, it should get smaller. I mean, I don't know how that works out.
It's weird what we're looking at, because it does look persuasive if you're like a dumbass retard. Like, if you don't critically analyze something, it does look convincing that that's the curve of the Earth, because it's almost too good to be true. But it's still got to shrink.
Right.
You know that effect in movies where they'll zoom in and zoom out at the same time, there's this like weird effect that they do in movies sometimes. It's something like that. It's almost like they're zooming in on it, but then zooming out on it, like at the same time. It's just a weird piece of footage.
What you're talking about is an effect that Spielberg used in Jaws. It's a utilization of foreshortening. So where I've described the angle of attack, what you'd actually I had this under my belt until Tim, do you remember when Tim Osman joined? And I asked him about foreshortening, and he immediately hand-waved, dismissed it, looked it up, described it, and it's exactly what his drone does. Well, yeah, have another look at foreshortening. But yes, that's precisely... If you look at a movie example of foreshortening, they would throw up that Jaws example where essentially, you're right, they pull the camera back on a dolly while zooming in. But it changes the perspective. It's a cool effect.
Yeah, that's what I thought of when I saw it. It's just weird.
Let's move on. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container? The necessary antecedent for gas pressure?
Hang on, just before we get to that. Just before we get to that, let me screen share, Nathan. I've got something really cool to show you. I'm going to have to credit Paul with this because it's come from Paul. However, just bear with me while I look at what tabs I've got. Just don't share my screen just yet. Let me just get rid of some tabs that I don't want to be public. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Hangout ship. Yes, we're good. Right, so are we on?
Not yet. Yep.
But this has come from Paul on the panel, and this is fab. This is a thermometer by Galileo. Never heard of one of these before. Only come across it yesterday, and I'm sure that makes me stupid, but nonetheless.
Sorry, can you shrink it down one notch? It's just not quite.
Yes, it does.
It doesn't quite fit on the page for the audience. Can you shrink it down? Zoom out one.
Is that better?
Yeah. No, I'll do something else. Don't worry about it. Yep, go ahead.
So
it's just going to be small.
Basically, I'll try and zoom into this picture a little bit if I can, because most people won't have seen one of these. I'm sure there'll be some diehards that have, but go on, zoom in. There we go. I think that's the best I can get it. Basically, it's like a water ethanol mix. That's the medium. And the reason they use ethanol is because it's more susceptible to changing its volume as a function of temperature. But what this does is, because the water ethanol mix in the middle, that's the variable in when temperature changes. It changes the density of the water, and that then affects the weights that are around these little colourful blobs. So what I want to do is I want to let's see if I can get out of this. How do I get out of this? Just trying to get out of the bloody thing. On. How do I get out of this? Maybe it's back.
I'm back. If you were talking to me a minute ago, I was on a call, so sorry. I don't know if you asked me a question. I didn't hear it.
No, I was just giving you kudos for telling me about this Galileo thermometer yesterday. But what I want to do is I want to read this one particular part of it. It talks about how it all works, and it's not that difficult to understand. It's the liquid changes its density as temperature goes up and down because of the ethanol that's in it or the alcohol that's in it. And that changes the density relative to all the other all the other weights. Now look at this.
That's genius. Relative density based on heat. It's like a multi-liquid thermometer.
It is genius. Now what I'll do is I'll try and make this bigger so that we can read it. Can you see that, Nathan?
Yeah, that's good.
So what it says is the Galilean thermometer works on the principle of buoyancy, right? And we all know that buoyancy's got little g, and you have to have gravity in it for it to work. So buoyancy determines whether objects float or sink in a liquid, and is responsible for the fact that even boats made of steel float in water, while a solid bar of steel sinks. Now get this. The only factor that determines whether a large object rises or falls in a particular liquid is the liquid's density relative to the density of the liquid. It's literally describing relative density. So I'll read that again. The only factor that determines whether a large object rises or falls in a particular liquid is the object's density relative to the density of the liquid. So it's literally relative density, right? No mention of gravity. If the object is denser than the liquid, it'll sink to the bottom. As it is heavier than the liquid it displaces. Displacement. That's what we've been saying for months and months and months. If it is less dense, it floats on the water and will be partially submerged until the weight of the displaced liquid becomes equal to the object's weight. This is exactly what we've been saying all this time. It's just relative density. It's the object that's in it relative to the medium in which it's in. And this is describing it, and it's Galileo's thermometer. Now, obviously, they are going to put in some element of gravity at some point. It comes up at some point in somewhere.
It's always up for presupposition, of course.
Yeah, it's always there for presupposition. I can't find it exactly now. I might have to actually do the word gravity, search for the word gravity in here. Gravity doesn't even appear in the article. So it appears that you don't need gravity in it whatsoever. Now, obviously, ballers are going to go and change this straight away so that there is the usual like paragraph that you'd expect to see. But yeah, this document does not have the word gravity in it on this date. And all it needs is the relative density. And that's exactly what we've been saying for ages. I'm just going to have to read it one more time.
Make sure to screen cap it with the date.
Well, we're recording. We're recording. That's the point.
Yeah. So the only factor that determines whether a large object rises or falls in a particular liquid is the object's density relative to the density of the liquid, right? No mention of gravities and masses and forces of attraction and bending of space-time. The only factor is one over the other, which is what we've been saying for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. So where's the gravity in this? I'm sure Galileo's thermometer didn't take into account gravity, and if it did, surely it'd be documented in here somewhere. But guess what? The word gravity does not exist in this document.
But wasn't Galileo before Newton, officially?
Yeah.
He was around about the same time, I think. I'm not sure exactly.
I think it was a bit.
I'm not sure
then.
exactly.
Right. Anyway.
So shout out to Paul for spotting that yesterday. Paul, where did you get it from?
You're on mute, Paul.
He might be away from his mic.
Oh, I know. I was trying to get. Yeah, I'm always running around here, so it takes me a minute to get back to the computer. Basically, I saw this at my cousin's house over Easter weekend, and I was like, "That's interesting." And I started thinking about the density buoyancy issue, and then thinking about what's causing the balls to go up and down, and it just triggered a thought process, and I thought it was fun to share, maybe something to talk about, which we're doing.
Absolutely, sir. Good spot.
Cool. Yeah, well done, Paul. And thanks for presenting it, Anthony. So let's move on. Any evidence?
So in answer to your question, any evidence for gravity? Absolutely none. Galileo's thermometer says the only cause is the densities.
Awesome. Right. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container?
No.
Nope.
There's so many people that believe in the sky vacuum known as outer space. Surely there must be some demonstration of this violation of the second law of thermodynamics. Really? None?
Only very temporary ones.
Temporary as in when an explosion goes off, if you have a high-speed camera, you can watch the effects of the second law of thermodynamics taking place.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's not really defying the second law of thermodynamics. It's just a demonstration of it.
True. Watching the second law of thermodynamics in action is not a defying of the second law of thermodynamics. That's correct.
But still, explosions are super cool in high speed.
True.
Slow motion, rather. High speed cameras. Anyway, any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Nope.
There we go. Will this develop a row?
There is no measurable distance to the sun.
Oh god. Oh god.
What? I said it right.
Did you say measured?
Yeah.
Oh, no way. I wasn't paying enough attention. I just went on auto brain.
There is no measurable spoon.
I noticed that, Arwen. Switching it up, huh?
Right. What about a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth? Any evidence of that?
No.
Come on, there's quite a few people on the panel.
All old mythologies of the center of the Earth. Ooh.
Okay. So
weren't there supposed to be dinosaurs there in a cave once?
I don't know.
Nathan, there's got to be a way to get
We're into the center of the Earth.
Lots
Got
of
to be a way to
overtalk.
get the Cornelius effect. I mean, the Coriolis effect into
You can call it
housekeeping somehow.
You can, right, you can. Well, yeah, that's part of axial rotation. So the Cornelius effect, I'm more than happy for you to label it that, because that's actually very appropriate. And the reason is simple. The Coriolis effect is real. You can experience the Coriolis effect on your local child's roundabout by holding a ball in your hand as you rotate on the roundabout. While you're holding the ball, both you and the ball are in one reference frame, a rotating reference frame, but the ball rotates with the platform because you're holding it. Now, when you throw the ball, now we're going to assume for this example that you just throw it normally, you're not putting any spin on the ball to give it a curve, you just throw it and it travels in a straight line. Now, fact,
You throw it like a man or like a sissy?
You throw it like a sissy.
Okay.
And it just goes in a straight line, yeah? Assuming that you are fine, just because Arwin's piped up. You've got a catapult. And you definitely fire it in a straight line from the roundabout. Now, from your position, as you continue to rotate, the ball appears to take a curved path because you are rotating in another separate reference frame to the ball or bullet or catapult projectile that travels in a straight line. So you see an apparent deflection. Now, that effect, the Coriolis effect, is real. It is asserted incorrectly that Earth has a Coriolis effect. Now, this isn't true, proven by the planes, helicopters and drones that do not see the Earth rotate underneath them as they travel through the air. So there is no Earth-based Coriolis effect. So calling it the Cornelius effect is all good by me, because there is no the Cornelius effect is fake and nonsense. The Coriolis effect, to assert the Coriolis effect is fake is a bit erroneous because it isn't fake. There is a Coriolis effect. You can demonstrate it by throwing a ball off a roundabout. But Earth does not have a Coriolis effect. It's got an alleged Cornelius effect, which is totally fake.
I used to be a big fan of Beavis and Butthead, so I want to call it the Cornholio effect.
I like that. Cornholio!
No. Cornholio for my Bangholio.
Yes, it's quite vulgar in terms of what it's referencing, but thanks for adding that on, Arwin. Most of the audience would have been unaware. Yes, indeed. But the Cornholio effect is definitely fake and not real. Earth doesn't have planes that have dramatically reduced air travel as the continents they're travelling to come towards them, and they're never fighting against the Earth curve when they're travelling away from it. So, no, there is no Earth-based Coriolis effect. It's just complete nonsense. There is no apparent deflection. The Earth does not rotate underneath. Although it's asserted that it does, but the Earth does not rotate. It's just as simple as that. Anyway, moving on. So we were on Malta 9 core when we came to that. I always hold out quite a lot of hope for that one. Surely there's some... Sorry, I'll stop sniggering. Surely there's some proof of the Malta 9 core. It's taught to our children in schools, right?
Maybe there's proof of a molten chocolate core, since it's supposed to be pear-shaped. It's kind of like an Easter egg, so maybe there's a chocolate molten core. What do you say?
That would be awesome.
So it would be a lava cake. So really, the Earth is shaped like a lava cake. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, it's pear-shaped. You could interpret that as a Easter egg shape as well.
That sounds
Right?
rubbish. This isn't proof. Of
Oh, it did? I
Okay,
thought it was
so
really...
just before I ask the last housekeeping question, I've intentionally, because a guy called Craig, who I don't know, but Dirth put me in touch with, apparently wanted to join the show. I've emailed him the link yesterday and today. He said the panel was full. The panel's not full, and it's been 25 minutes since we've been live. So after this last question, the link will go out to the public. Anybody will be welcome to join. But yeah, there we go. Disappointing. Any evidence of the presupposition of Earth radius, the R value, gentlemen?
No, none.
Nothing.
No. Did you guys hear Red Pill going on to Jose's hangout?
I did.
Hear any of that?
I did, and something that I'm glad you brought up. So, f-stop, yeah, something that you'd calculate based on the size of the aperture. Rayleigh criterion, eh? Rumper submitted on that show to Red Pill Philosophy that the f-stop would be cause of a light in the distance demonstrated by Life is Short with an iPhone versus a Canon. And obviously having a larger aperture meant that the light was seen where it was not in the iPhone. And Rumpus replied, that's just a matter of the f-stop. So Rumpus has now conceded that objects can disappear into the distance from the bottom up due to the size of the aperture used in the equipment. Not accounted for in his calculator. Finally got you, you little bastard. So Rumpus, you allege to always be right about everything. I'd now like you, given that you have conceded that objects can disappear from bottom up due to the, quote, f-stop, where that's included in your begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking curve calculator. It might seem that Rumpus isn't always right, because if he was, he'd have applied that which he understands is a cause of things disappearing in the distance. In this case, on a perfectly flat surface, a light disappearing in the aperture of an iPhone and not in the aperture of a Canon. So, Rumpus, if that's a cause of things disappearing in the distance, you'll obviously have applied it in your mathematics, won't you? Just for the audience's benefit. No, he hasn't. This effect has been hijacked. This would be an effect of perspective, calculable in the Rayleigh criterion, absolutely excluded from the question, begging, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking curve calculator. Rumpus is just a deceitful piece of shit, and lying to all you globeheads who believe him. He knows f-stop is a cause of things disappearing from bottom up, but he doesn't include it. He's just a liar. So I'm calling you out, Rumpus. You've conceded to Red Pill philosophy. It's on tape. You understand that things can disappear due to the f-stop value. Why haven't you accounted for this very real detail? Hey, Physics Warrior, and hey, UK Truth.
Hey, Truth.
Yeah, well, my guests don't say hello. I'm calling you out, Rumpus. This isn't included in your calculations. Obviously, it's something to do with the pictures that you're analysing. It's something to do with the cameras. So it absolutely needs to be accounted for because you're comparing your maths to these pictures and you've conceded. F-stop is the reason that light disappeared from the bottom up in the iPhone. Right, Rumpus? Unlucky. Yeah, you've all been fooled, globeheads. By people like Rumpus. By people like Bob the Fallacy Guy. By people like Mitt West. They're all pissing in your faces. And it makes me laugh because these dudes know. They all know. They know how the trick's working. Like the magician on stage when he lets off a smoke bomb and drops down a trapdoor. He knows he's tricking you. But you all gasp, don't you, globehead retards? Gasp in amazement how they proved the Earth is a sphere with a bit of mathematics. Well, we're here to tell you, in no uncertain terms, that they use actual sizes that do not change with distance. And believe me, when you look at anything in the distance, its size does change. They've just hijacked that effect and called it curvature to fool you all. And they're laughing at you, like I'm laughing at you. I hope all the panel laugh at you globeheads while these deceivers like Mick West pull the wool over your eyes. They haven't pulled the wool over our eyes. We've spotted the magic trick. We know how it works. You don't. But that's amusing to me. This does make me laugh.
Shout out to Rob Vanderclock.
Makes me laugh too.
Is that
So
10th
sad.
man on the panel with a black... I can hardly tell on my projection screen. It's so little difference. Is that 10th man or is that a gap on the panel?
No, it's 10th man.
Ah, we've got a full house then. Right, Craig, I gave you half an hour. You didn't join. You had the link. It was emailed. We discussed it yesterday. You've had the link twice by email. I don't know what more I can do. Maybe he's got cold feet. If you're in the show or if you're in the chat and you want to say, look, I am trying to join, yeah, well, just let us know and I'll ask somebody to be very graceful and duck out of the panel and we'll have you on, Craig. No mention of anything in the chat, but if somebody does see something in the chat from a guy named Craig, please tell me and I'll ask somebody on the panel to leave.
Are we talking about the Craig?
I don't know. No, not Fight the
guy?
Flat Earth.
Oh, okay.
Have you guys all getting on with a Microsoft PC? I'm trying to get on with an iPad and I'm having more difficulty trying to get on in the morning. I hear everybody else on, but it just goes forever.
I have no trouble at all.
Well, when your show started, I went to join. puts me into the Hangout, and either I'm alone there or somebody else is trying to get on, and we're just the only ones in the Hangout.
Oh, right, yeah. So if I don't put the link for today's debate, I don't do anything. So all that happens is when this show finishes, the link that you've joined on today will still be there when I start the show tomorrow. But obviously I'm going to start a fresh Hangout. So until I update that link, I don't intentionally go in and delete the old one. So you're just joining yesterday's link each time. But today I intentionally did that because there's a guy specifically moaning that he can't get on because the panel's full. So like yesterday, I've sent him an email, said here's the link, not published the link for a short period of time during housekeeping, today even longer, so that he can join while the panel's not full. So he's got no excuse.
Right. But my question is, how come I'm hearing other panel members on? What link are they using?
They're using your link that you've gone in from the day before. They're also doing the same thing. So they're going into yesterday's show. That's all that's happening.
Yeah, but they're getting on and we're not. That's what I can't figure out.
Oh, right. With this, I see what you're saying now. So you're saying that's just a glitch then. I don't know why that happens. That does happen. I've had it happen to me. So you try and join on an iPad. It's the correct link. It takes you to a random room. And you're like, oh, it's just a full. And then someone else pops in. Oh, what are you doing here?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so we were thinking we were the only ones using iPads, and we're thinking maybe it's an iPad language issue with Microsoft.
It is.
Google Hangout.
It certainly is for me. That's when I have that issue, when I go in on an iPad and suddenly I'm in what seems like a holding pen, and it doesn't give you the disclaimer at the beginning that you're joining a live call. It just takes you straight to a room, and you're like, oh, what's this then? And the show's running, and you can see it on a different tab or whatever.
So can I just ask the panel members who got on before I did, are they on PC or iPad?
I'm on a phone.
I'm on a
Google
PC.
phone?
I'm sorry, is it a what?
Chromebook.
Is it okay, so far it's PC, Chromebook, and Slick. What kind of phone? Samsung or
Android.
Android.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that does answer my question.
All right, so, okay.
I got to get a PC.
10th man, what it is some people are connected.
Yeah, way to go. Nice one. No, hang on, Slick. No charge for that comment.
And what's my avatar look like, 10th man?
Oh, you still got your six pack.
And so it's okay.
Yeah, fine. We all dream of that. We used to have it.
I see a girl with a nasty shirt on.
Oh, that's funny. So, Nathan, I don't know where you are in your conversation. I don't want to throw a monkey wrench into it. May I just say that all I've been thinking about is how you say can't have gas pressure without a container, but can't have water remain level on the spinning ball either.
Yeah, well, they changed the meaning of the word level.
Oh, I lost everybody. Now I'm back.
Oh, Tanweer's joined. Are we getting sniped?
Level is level.
Oh boy, this third day in a row I'm getting sniped. I'll be back.
No,
you're good.
You're all good.
Yeah, so far. But hey, your show's famous.
Somebody
Everyone's
got
got to come here and kill it.
Well, that's because the trick is being revealed, see.
Yep. So you can't have water remain level on a spinning ball. Let's not let him beg the question anymore.
Hey guys.
I don't know if it's just me, but I'm of the feeling that I don't think life as we know it would be possible on a spinning ball in a vacuum. I just don't think it's a possible thing.
Of course not.
Well, when you look at the tangential speed, 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, all the water should pool there. We should have an oblate sphere on the equator, not below the equator. It should be on the equator, and they should be the deepest waters of the world. the deepest waters of the world are around the Antarctic oceans, like the southern South Pacific. They're the deepest parts of the oceans. It's not consistent with the claim that we're spinning.
Your senses would be all out of whack. You'd be like dizzy all the time.
Oh, but Slick, it's only one.
I agree. Yeah,
Slick,
you'd be dizzy all the damn time because, I mean, you're doing 4 different directions at the same time. And then you've got things looming and refracting all over the place, cities coming up where they don't belong because all of that shit is true. I mean, what kind of world would we be living in if that was the case?
Like, I have a question for you. Can perception be subjective to reality?
Let me see now if I'm understanding your question correctly. What I'll say is this: reality doesn't require perception because reality is what it is. No matter how you perceive it, perception doesn't change it. I don't know if that answers your question, but
On the reality world, but let's just go into my perception side. Would it be subject to reality?
well, see, I don't look at it from that side. I only look at life from the reality side. I don't concern myself with the perception side because, like I said, perception doesn't change reality. So that's just maybe not a good question for me.
Okay, but for me, in my opinion, I could be on your side, and I could see the reason why that perception could be subject to reality. But now that's why I'm asking you the question here, where I'm this side of the perception, where I'm asking you about reality, if it's subject.
Right. Yeah, like I said, and that's not a good question for me because I am only on the reality side. I'm not on a perception side, so I can't answer your perception questions.
And no further question.
Thank you.
It's not a good question for anyone who understands the truth, which is just reality.
How do you know reality? Through the senses or through your mind?
Well, reality just is. See, and that's what I think people are missing. People think that they have to interpret reality. Reality doesn't have to be interpreted, it already is. And I think what people do is they get these preconceived notions that somehow it's subject to their interpretation, and that's where the confusion comes in. There is no interpretation. Reality is. Reality is what it was before anybody was born. And after they were born, reality didn't change. So whatever your perception of it is just doesn't have any bearing on reality.
Right, but how do your senses, or our senses, I will include myself in that, how do our senses give us stimulus or input of reality physically?
Well, my answer to that for me is who cares?
Well, instead of just leaving it alone, do you believe that you have sensory feedback?
Well, the problem with that question is I would have to have beliefs, and I don't, so I can't answer that question.
Well, let me put it another way. When you touch a hot stove with your finger, do you have a belief or do you pull your finger off the hot stove?
Well, I don't have a belief, so the answer is obvious.
Well, I understand. So your sensory does work in this reality. If you touch something hot, your normal reaction would be to pull away, correct?
Right, but is there some point to this?
Well, the point is that your senses are a part of this reality, whatever someone wants to call it.
But that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that reality is what it is, regardless of your senses. Your senses doesn't change reality. Reality comes first. Everything else comes after.
I agree. We live in the physical world and it's real. And when my senses meet that world and I touch something hot, I sense reality that's hot. Would you agree with that?
Well, I hear you, but that just has nothing to do with my point.
It's like you're almost avoiding it.
Okay, I'm not avoiding anything. Think about it. What was the stove before you were born? Was there a hot stove for you to touch before you were born?
No, it was non-existent.
Okay, so that's my point. That's the point that I'm trying to make. See, you're trying to tie something that doesn't exist.
Yeah, but I didn't say before you were born.
I know, but I'm trying to make a point for you.
I know, but I'm talking after you were born.
Okay, so what about it?
So if you touch a hot stove after you're born, and it's the reality of the hot stove, how do you know that? Isn't it not through your senses?
What difference does it make? What does that have to do with reality? In other words, just because I touch a hot stove and burn my hand, how does that change reality?
That's not the issue. I'm not even arguing about changing reality. I'm with you on that. Reality is reality. I agree with it.
Then what are we talking about? Why are we having this conversation?
I'm just trying to tie how you identify your sensory with reality. And
I
then
don't.
also, well, I understand. That's why we're going in circles.
I simply experience.
Right. So how do you experience it?
I don't worry about how, I just experience it. How is not important.
Okay, so let me just go there. So if you touch a hot stove and you experience heat, you experience your hand moving away, correct?
See, these are things that I don't know why people ask these kind of questions. They don't really make any sense to me. Now, maybe I'm missing something, but that's just a question that makes no sense.
But what about
all
a
an
blind person?
inquiry.
What about a blind person? What about a blind person that has to use perception?
You're still, I still just don't understand why you're not. Reality comes first. Everything else that you're talking about, blind people and touching stoves and all that, that's secondary. I'm not talking about secondary. I'm talking about primary reality. Everything you're talking about has nothing to do with that. And I'm not concerned about these secondary things. I'm only concerned with the primary.
Then identify the primary meaning of
So-
reality. What is reality?
How would you know it is the primary reality and not just your subjective experience?
Because I am not here to define anything. I'm only here to experience. Reality is there for me to experience. I don't need to put words on it. I don't need to identify it. I don't need to do anything. You seem to need to do this, and you're asking me how. I'm not concerned with your concerns.
No, but we try to distinguish reality from non-reality. You have to distinguish it from that. It's not just whatever we experience. You don't just by default experience reality, right?
Listen, you have to do
You
what
may
works.
experience your senses, but how are you going to interpret them? Or maybe you're not. You're just going to be experience senses.
Listen, you have to do what works for you. Your limitations are not my limitations.
That's correct.
Well, I think
I know kind of what Tinthman's driving at. I'm sorry. Maybe I was going to put ahead if I can. I agree with Slick that reality is reality. It's not. It's something I call it objective. Like there's a piano in my room. It's there. It's objective. But our experience of reality is subjective. Now, if that's the case, if our experience of reality is subjective, how do we control? And I think this is what 10th Man is trying to drive at. How do you know that your experience is objective or is it just purely subjective? So I'm trying to think of an example. Like, okay, a blind man, that he was talking about earlier. A blind man has no sight. So he can't see anything. You can talk about color, you can talk about shape, but he can't, through his only limited sensory input, he can't grasp those concepts for him. So
you don't know that.
I'm shifting to Paul's side of the argument.
They could dream sight.
So Paul, so what you're saying, so even though all of those things are happening, does that change reality?
That's not my point. I just said it doesn't change reality.
But that's my point.
It doesn't change. Okay, well, my point is, if our experience of reality is subjective, how do you know that your experiential component is a true representation of reality? That's my question. I think that's what 10th.
Right, and
that was my question.
And I understand that. I don't concern myself about what's true or not. I only have experience. See, that's your thing with this true or false thing. I don't deal with that. I just deal with experience. It's just that simple. You're the one complicating it, and you're looking for me to answer your complication. I'm not here for that. I live a very simple existence.
Okay,
I experience reality, and that's
wait a minute.
Hey, look, it's clear, guys. It's loud and clear. He doesn't care about lies or truth, so he doesn't care.
Listen, Arwin, I don't need you to listen.
Right?
Arwin, I don't listen. I don't need you.
Did you say that?
Are you going to talk over me?
Now I asked you, it's a yes or no question. Is
I
that what
don't
you said?
need you.
Did I quote you correctly?
I don't need you to reinterpret what I said and try to sell it back
no,
to me.
I quoted
Well,
you,
then,
and I asked you if I quoted you
listen,
correctly.
you don't have to quote me because all you have to do
No,
is listen to.
I know I don't have to, but I did.
Okay,
it
you can
anyway.
go ahead and answer for me. You go ahead, answer for me.
No, I want you to answer a question.
Okay,
Can you
I'm
answer
trying
a
to answer.
question? Is it within your capability to answer any kind of question, or are you just a bohemian rumpus?
Okay, can you be quiet for a second and listen to the answer?
Right.
Now, I'm answering you very plainly. Now you got me all confused because you couldn't stop talking.
It was a yes or no answer.
Okay, ask the question again because I forgot now because of your constant talking.
Right. So did I quote you correctly saying that?
Okay, now I got it. Now I got it. Now I got it.
Lies are true.
I said I got it.
About the experience.
I said I got it now. Okay, here's the thing. Don't quote me. Just listen to what I say. Don't try to. Are you going to stop talking?
Or are you going to answer yes or no?
I'm answering you. Shut up.
Yo, you're not. You're red herring me. You shut up.
Now you're getting on my nerves with this. I'm trying to. Every time I try to answer. Listen. Every time I try to answer.
Yes or no question.
Every time I try to answer the question, you purposely try to confuse the situation so that I can't answer. I'm hip to your trick. This is just a trick.
It's a yes or no answer.
This is just a trick.
You're red herring me again. It's a yes or no answer.
Okay, here's the answer. No, you don't quote me. I say what I say.
An answer to that question. That's not the question I asked that answer to.
Okay, well, ask it again.
Answer yes or no to the question.
Okay, ask it again.
Did I quote you correctly when I said you don't really care about lies and truth? You just experience.
No, you didn't quote me correctly.
Okay, can you then say what you actually said, literally? Can you quote yourself?
I said what I said literally when I said it the first time.
That's not a quote. That's not actually the content of what you said. So what did you say?
So what you're telling me is that what I said, I didn't say. Is that what you're telling me?
I don't know. You refuse to quote yourself. I have nothing to compare it with now.
What are you talking about? Quote myself. I made a statement. That statement that statement that I made is my quote. What you did was hold on. I wish you could
again. You are a rumpus. You are a rumpus. You are literally incapable of answering basic questions. It's a serious mental illness, man. Serious. How much?
Let me know when you're finished.
Just go with it.
Before the ad hom start, hold on. So he's just saying, give us your quote again. Just, I don't even know what the. I like you. I was about to call you Rumpus then, Slick. My bad. I can't remember what the actual quote is either. So he's asking you to just repeat the quote. If you're saying he's misquoted, if you're saying, God, this is so complicated, that Arwin has misquoted you. Arwin's saying, well, what is your quote? And you're saying, well, it's what I said. But what were the words used is kind of what Arwin's getting at.
Right. And the point that I'm trying to make is between him hollering and rumpusing me to death, I forgot what I said myself. Because what I'm trying to say is that whatever I said, he tried to repackage what I said and sell it back to me. And what I was trying to tell him was that I don't need him to do that. Just listen to the words that I say. Don't try to repackage it. It's just that simple.
Can I make a comment?
You don't have to be so needy.
Hold on, Erwin. Hey, Erwin, hang on a second. It's like sometimes I think people sometimes repeat back what they hear. Not that they're trying to repackage what you're saying. That's how they hear it, and there's a clarification component to that. Say, is this what you said? If it's not, then re-clarify, restate it in such a way to where you understand. I think that's what Erwin was trying to do. So you can say he's repackaging it all day long, and that's fine. But I don't think that's what he's doing, because I was going to ask you a question off your statement that you had said, and I'd actually like to rehear what you said before. What I understood you saying, now you can I'm asking for clarification. I'm not repackaging. I'm asking for clarification that you are not concerned with if things are true or false. Is that correct?
Exactly. I'm only concerned with my experience. I don't try to determine whether something is. Hold on. Now let me finish. I don't concern myself with. I don't
I'm
concern myself.
listening.
Let him finish. I want to hear this.
I don't concern myself with whether things are true or false. I just experience them. It's just information. It's an experience. You concern yourself with things that are true and false. I don't need to do that. Now, maybe you do. And if that works for you, that's fine. I don't.
Well, I get that. It's a very principled system. I kind of admire that you're that persistent at it, but there's a technical difficulty with that, and that is if you only concern yourself with experience, not what is true or not, then you have no grip whatsoever on what objective reality is. You can only conceptualize it.
What an
Because it's not
outrage.
within your reach,
Hold on.
because objective
Sorry,
reality
Arwen. No way. You can't charge me
requires-
that. It's the total opposite. That's the antithesis of what he's got as an opinion. He's saying he only goes by actual experience of reality. How can you possibly charge him with that?
Well, my question
No,
was,
but he's going with his
my question
centuries.
was-
He's not drawing any conclusions from them, true or false.
my question was,
So how
does
can
he
you then understand reality? Reality is already a concept that unifies things.
See, that's you
Okay,
talking.
here, let me ask me.
That's its
Let me ask
function.
like a question.
That's how we use it.
Hey,
The
hang on,
word.
Arwen.
Well, that's how you use it.
That's how
hold
everybody
on,
uses
Slick.
it.
Hold on. There is no everyone. There is no we.
That's the
So you-
colloquial use of the word
Hold on,
reality.
I don't want that
Right.
argument again. I've heard it. So go on, Paul.
Okay, Slick, are you concerned with if your statements are true or false?
No.
You're not concerned about it.
Didn't I just say no?
So if you make okay, that's clear. So for us on the panel, and whatever I say, I can't trust you because I don't know if what you're saying is true or not. I can't trust you. So there.
The thing. Hold on.
I
The
know
thing is,
that. So why should I accept anything you say? Which is, I know that's where you're going, and it doesn't matter to you. But see, it does matter to me because, and honestly, part of this journey that we're on, we've been told something that is false. We've been told something that is false. It's not true. So in some level, we all are concerned. I'm not putting you in this. I'll say the other 9 people on the panel are concerned with things that are true or false. Part of this debate is determining what's true or false.
Okay, so I know Slick will give a repetition of an answer he's given about 20 times, but if you can give it, and then I just want to add something. So go ahead, Slick.
well, see, like I said, now remember I talked about monologuing. I was ready to answer him, but he kept on continuing, adding in all that unnecessary stuff. Now, let me explain to you if I can remember correctly. Now, you're concerned about whether you accept what I say or not. This is what you don't understand. I don't care what you accept. I'm not here for you to accept or not accept what I say. I'm not here to make myself clear to you. If I'm not clear to you, that's your problem. It's not mine because I'm clear to me.
Right, thank you. So I
Very
just want to
hostile and patronizing.
Fine, just before the ad homs get in. So just
No,
to
no, no,
add,
no, not at homes. I find that a very hostile and deflective response. I don't see why that's necessary.
It's his bag, though, isn't it? That's his point.
Yeah, and I'm pointing it out.
Yeah, but that's his bag. You don't have to like it.
I'm just
does
pointing
reality have substance, Slick?
Hold on, just before we move on to a new point. So, people who are, I'm sure every one of us on this panel's subscribed to Jaren. Am I wrong? If anybody doesn't know who he is, raise your hand. No, jolly good. Everyone on the panel subscribed to Jaren, and he prefaces most, if not all, of his videos by saying, "Don't trust me. Don't trust what I'm telling you. Check it for yourself. Experience it for yourself." That's his advice, right? Very sage advice. Wouldn't we all agree?
Yes.
So do you not think that admittedly extreme... Hold on. So although admittedly extreme, do you not think it's a fairly reasonable position that Slick takes, given that he's vehement about it?
To an extent. Yep, I get Slick completely.
I don't know.
That advice
it's too
from
much.
Jaren.
I get
that
the
advice-
principle. It's just too far. But
That,
I don't
that
know. You'll
advice-
figure it out.
Go on, Arwen, then 10th man. I'm doing this because everybody's constantly putting Slick under the microscope. Let's just get it over with. We've got a few minutes left on this live show. So go ahead, Arwen. It's just, I've said it already, it's his bag, right? You don't have to like it. You don't have to trust what he says. You don't have to believe what he says. If what he says is somehow not acceptable to you, go and check it out for yourself, right?
Well, that's true, but the thing is, he's not just doing his thing. He's also using his principles to disrupt and red herring things. And that's not just his bag anymore. He's using that bag and dropping it on our foot. So I'm criticizing him for, well, what is criticizable, like his unusually hostile attitude whenever somebody asks him a question about something personal. He's so overkill private, and it doesn't even seem really private. He just refuses to answer questions principally. It's almost literally like Rumpus does it.
Okay, right. Before that just gets left
That is
in the
all.
ether.
And
Arwin,
no,
come on,
I get
come on,
his
come on.
principles. I get it.
Arwin,
I get it.
it's 300 people watching. Right, so it's 10th man, and then I want Slick to be able to respond to it before I round out the live show. So go ahead, 10th man. Sorry, anybody else who had an opinion on this.
All right, thank you. Just back and forth Paul just had with Slick, I think, is why we keep running into this. I mean, if Slick is saying, as I heard, he's not interested in finding truth or falsehood, how do you even have a discussion?
He doesn't.
Okay, I have a discussion by having discussions, because we are having a discussion right now. Even though I hold the principles that I hold, aren't we having a discussion?
What principles?
No, I didn't ask you that.
Hang on. No, hang on. No, I need identification so I could communicate with you in the discussion. When you say you hold principles, but then say there are no principles.
Okay, so now here we go with the word play.
No, you said the word principle. What is principles? What
It's the consequence of using words, Slick.
Oh gosh, you guys with these trick games, these gotcha catch phrases.
Right, with that, I will say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of today's live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this live debate. If you're watching this on the Nathan Oakley channel, with fingers crossed, I hope there'll be an after show to follow once I end the live show. But also a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of today's debating panel for making the debate possible. If you need to keep yourself occupied after this live stream is over, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video. Stay tuned if you're watching on Nathan Oakley after show to follow.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Now, obviously, principles and belief have, two different meanings, but there are people who conflate the two. So they'll hear you say something like the principles that you hold, then at the same time you say you have no beliefs. It confuses people, and that's why people will keep coming at you with the questions that they do. And I get that it's frustrating for you, but I mean, I've met people like you before. I know how this goes. So that's why, you don't bother me with this anymore.
Well, now before you go on, now let me explain.
I have something.
I want to respond to him, Arwin. Before,
come on, be reasonable. One at a time. Chocolate's had his say. Now let Slick respond.
Right. The reason why you're confused, Chocolate, is because when I make my statements, I'm very clear and concise.
No.
Now, hold on. Let me finish.
I want to correct you real quick.
Just let me finish. I said, just let me finish. See, because that's when you do this.
Sure that
I
not
heard you,
by you.
but
okay.
I heard you, but when you do this, you confuse my statement. See, now you're making me lost in what I was trying to respond.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Right now, I don't even remember what I was trying to respond.
The confusion.
I can make you remember. Jeez. As far as with this panel, you've proven to be the.
Okay. Now I got it. Now, what happens is when somebody asks me a question, I give an answer. But now what happens is you don't accept the answer that I give you and you want more clarity. So when I try to give you more clarity, that's when things starts to get confused, because now you take that clarity that I'm trying to give you and you reword it, and then you attack that rewording. That's why I like to just stick with my one precise response. I experience reality. That's all there is to it. No more, no less, no further questions, no further explanations, no quotes, no anything. Now, whether you accept that or not, I don't care. I experience reality as it presents itself. End of story.
With that, Slick, when you say that, we have no problem. And then when we're talking as to identification of how you experience that reality, is it through the sensory or through your mind or any other question, you do not answer. We don't know what you mean by reality. You could mean something totally different by the way you look at reality. It could be preference, like I like chocolate ice cream and you like vanilla ice cream. But objective truth, 2 and 2 is 4 all the time.
Right. But like I said, I'm not going to allow you to take me on this ride. I said what I had to say and I'm done with it. If you don't understand that,
so you
is
don't
not
want...
my... Hold on. If you don't understand that, I don't care. I don't care how callous that sounds. I don't.
Yeah, but see, now what you're saying right there is that someone is interested in communicating with you and finding out meanings to terms, and you don't care.
No, what I'm telling you is this. I just made my statement very clear. I experience reality as it presents itself. Now, I just told you what my position is. Now, you have further questions beyond that. And what I'm trying to tell you is that there is nothing beyond that. So if you didn't understand what I said, that's not my problem. And if you're asking further questions, that's reminding me of the tricks that people play.
It's not a trick. You don't need to be defensive. I think we all care for you in more ways than you could even conceive.
I couldn't care less.
Well, that's pretty obvious. I mean, I just don't know what you mean by reality, and I don't know what you mean by the word experience because you don't want to define it.
Listen,
That's right.
why don't you hold on?
That's right.
Why don't
So
just concern yourself with your view of reality and don't worry about mine.
Well, okay. Well, then don't interrupt us if you're not willing to clarify anything, because it is disrupting our flow of what we do.
Let me say one last thing on what Arwen is saying that I have experienced myself. Ranty came on a few weeks ago and was showing the video, and you said, Slick, what does all this prove? So you brought your unexplained reality and unexplained experience and threw it all over Ranty's hard work. And that's what Arwen is saying. If you're not going to give this terminology of what you mean, why are you bringing it and throwing it on Ranty's hard work and like sabotaging what he's doing by saying something so nebulous like that? That's what Arwen is saying.
Okay, let me answer. Let me respond to you. Now, do you know how much hard work Newton did on gravity? You know how much hard work he put into that?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, probably a lot from if you read all of the stuff. So what my point is, I throw crap all over that. Do you have a problem with that?
Yeah, I do.
No further questions.
I want to know why you throw crap over it, but you won't answer it.
Because it is crap. Because gravity is crap. That's why I throw crap all over it. I don't care how much work Newton put into it. If this work is crap, I'm going to crap all over it. So no matter who does, hold on. No matter who does the crap work, the work gets crapped on, whether it's Ranty, Newton, or anybody else.
So you don't accept photographic evidence as Ranty's eyewitness testimony of that moment in his life. You don't accept his photographic evidence.
I'm done with this conversation. Nathan,
right,
you can do your thing.
Because the absurdity of
Can I just ask something?
Hold on. Just let 10th Man make his point, and then if Slick's got anything to add to that, then fine, we can move on.
I believe it's not perception or reality or experience. I believe it's preference that Slick is talking. It's his preference. It's not based in objective reality. And this is why we have a disconnect, because he will not be allowed anyone to come and ask him for a definition. And then he says, I'm done, which is pretty cowardly in my word.
I'm done with this.
I'm done with this. Like I said, I'm done with this conversation, cowardly or not.
I'm just trying to work out what you're saying. Like, do you mean that you think that you experience reality differently to everyone else, and that each person should respect each other's view on how they interpret reality? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I'm not trying to say anything. I said what I said.
Okay, I was just asking. Yeah,
I hear you.
Just trying to make sense of it.
I got you.
Can I ask the clarifying question?
Go ahead.
When you say crap work, what do you mean by that? When you say crap work, what do you mean?
Like in other words, this whole thing of gravity that Newton came up with and all of the time that was spent on it, it's all crap. That's what I mean by crap work.
No, you did. That's still not define crap for me. Like, how do you? That's
garbage.
Crap work.
Garbage, no good, useless. What else you need?
Would you say that it's false work?
Listen, I just said what I said. What was wrong with the words I said? What was wrong with that?
Because when I think garbage,
why did you need to? Why did you need? Listen, Paul. Why did you need to come up with this word false? Are you trying to throw a trick in the mix, Paul?
No, because when
Mr. Trickster.
when I think of crap and I think of trash that I have out there in my garbage, and I think of crap when my cat poops outside the litter box. That's what I think of crap. That doesn't mean anything when it comes to whether that is, if it's good or not. Crap is crap, garbage is garbage. There could be no negative connotation in crap or trash.
Word salad.
I just want you to. Okay.
I'm just saying. Listen, Paul, I caught your trick. Okay, I saw the trick that you tried to play, and I caught it. You tried to throw that word false in there. You didn't think I'd catch that, Mr. Trickster?
We found another snake.
No,
yeah,
you're
another snake.
Paul. I don't think Paul. I didn't
ask you.
Yeah. I don't think Paul was trying to trick you.
10th man, I didn't ask you what you thought about what Paul was trying to do.
You know what?
I know it. I caught what Paul was trying to do. I caught it. That's how you catch a trick.
Yeah.
When a trick happens, you catch it and you nip it in the bud before it gets any farther. That's what you do to a trick.
Go ahead,
stop it
David.
in its tracks.
Let me just say one thing.
You're playing the victim, Slick. You're playing the victim.
Let me say one thing. I have no idea what's going on right now. Do you all understand that? We're not having a conversation to do with the shape of the earth. We're having a conversation to do with something that I have no idea what's going on. Just saying.
I completely agree with you. Yeah.
I know
I've
exactly
been ready
what's
to
going
move on. I'm ready to move on if anybody else is.
I know exactly what's going on right now.
Yeah, the tricks are being exposed. The tricks and the snakes are being exposed. That's exactly what's happening right now.
No, you're denying reality of good questions. You're cowardly running away. That's what's happening right now.
Right.
No one could define. You're like Teflon. No one could define what you mean because you won't tell us.
I'm still here. I didn't run any place.
Oh, good. So
I can answer. Listen to me. I can answer any question that you can throw at me. I don't care what kind of question. There's nothing that you can ask that I can't answer.
But you don't.
Okay. Well, here we go. When you say you experience something, here's a question. Do you experience it through your five senses or through your consciousness?
I don't concern myself with that. That's the answer.
Well, you call that an answer?
Yes, because that's my answer. You asked me a question and I don't listen, I'm gonna clarify for you. I don't concern myself where I experience that. I just experience and I let that be. That's you. You're the one. You're the one.
You're a snake. You said
I'm talking to 10th man. I'm talking to 10th man.
But you use the word trick because
I'm trying to talk to 10th man.
I can answer a question, but you actually meant I can answer a question, but not the question, because you don't do that. You don't answer the question. You just give a answer. It's very simple.
Arwen, let him finish. I have a follow-up question.
I know, but 10th man, it's too late now because Arwen's tactic worked. He got me off track with what his intention was to do, and it worked.
You're a snake. That's right.
Arwen, let me ask the question again. And he just said he experiences. He's not concerned. Go on, Nathan.
No, that wasn't Nathan. That was physics.
Okay. So, do you experience your senses?
I experience, period. I experience reality as it presents itself. That is my total answer. I have nothing else to add and nothing to subtract from that.
Correct, but I'm asking you a definite question of how you experience your experience. Is it physical, and is it by touch? Is it by feel, hearing? Is it how?
And I'm trying to explain to you, I don't concern myself with the how. I just do. I experience. Hold on, let me finish. How is not important to me. Now, how may be important to you, but it's not to me. I'm sorry.
Can we get
So
back
now,
to talking about flat Earth again?
Hang on. So now we know that when you say anything, it's not from the same dictionary of words we use. That's why we have a disconnect.
If that's the spin you want to put on it, do whatever works for you.
What spin? What spin? You won't even answer it.
See, now I don't know, to the audience out there, I don't know if you're hearing the same thing I am, but I have answered every single question thrown at me. What's happening is the answer that I give is not acceptable. So because the answer is not acceptable, now I'm being accused of not answering.
Yeah,
no, the answer, not Arwen.
I have a question for Slit.
The answer you give is absurd.
Okay, so now that's your interpretation of the answer. Just because you decide that it's absurd, unless you sit on some type of high throne where you get to decide what's absurd or not, that doesn't mean anything to me. You're just somebody talking.
You're the one who said you don't care about truth or false.
Psychosis.
Arwen. Slick, I'm not on a high horse, Slick. I am not judging you. I am trying to figure you out. But you said you don't care about truth or falsehood. So how can we even have a conversation?
Listen, what I don't concern myself with truths or falsehood. I only concern myself with information. Now, information I can use if I can verify it. If I can't verify the information, it's very useless to me. I don't concern myself. It doesn't matter. Don't worry. Listen,
don't give a shit about what's useful to you.
Worry about how you verify it, and don't worry about my verification process. Just worry about yours. I'm talking to 10th man. I was talking to 10th man. I was talking to 10th man.
So 10th man wants to know your method of verification.
I don't have a method to what's the word I'm looking for? No. I don't have a method to share with you. I only have my own method, and it's for me. It's not for you. You have to have your own verification method. You can't have mine. Mine is not yours. It's mine.
How do you determine between right and wrong, false and true?
I don't concern myself with that.
Well, then why do you call people snake?
Because people come off as snakes.
No, how do you verify that? You can't call them that because there's no way you can verify it.
As you catch Paul doing. You complain about him being a snake for using word trickery, and I literally within 5 minutes catch you doing exactly the same type of word trickery.
Yeah, I'm sure you did, Arwen. I'm
yeah,
sure
I
you
did. It's on record. I explained it twice.
Well, good. I'm sure you did. So for all of the audience, Arwen has a trophy because he just caught me using trickery. So you can take your trophy and you can polish it.
Somebody else's snake over.
Okay. So take your trophy, polish it up, and put it on your mantle and enjoy it.
I have a question for Slick. Hopefully we can move forward with this discussion.
No.
Well, here's the thing.
You're a hypocrite,
I can see exactly what you're saying with your belief and your experience. Do you think that we exist?
Listen, I don't concern myself with these questions that you are asking. I don't ask things like that. Now, maybe you do. See, what happens is you ask me a question that I don't concern myself with, and then you expect an answer. And when I don't have an answer for you, you fault me for not being able to answer a question that makes no sense to me to begin with.
The reason Slick can't answer these questions is because he denies our reality.
And you can't prove he can't answer the questions. He just
there you go telling me what I do. There you
No,
go,
you
telling
said
me
it.
what I
No,
do.
he could
No,
probably
you
answer
said
the
it,
questions,
Slick.
but he won't.
You said it, Slick.
There
He
you
can
go,
answer
telling
the
me what I
questions,
said.
but he won't.
You said it. You said it.
Listen, what I said, I spoke openly for all the world to hear.
Yes, you did. And you said it.
I said exactly, and I stand behind whatever I say. I speak
Except when,
openly
except,
for all
except
the
when I
world
say,
to hear.
right, and then when I ask you, what do you stand behind? You won't tell us.
I stand behind my experience. That's what I stand behind.
Experience
Just
is a
accept
word.
his explanation, like, yeah.
Oh my. You know what?
Experience is a word.
You know what? Let me explain something to you. I'm familiar with the Jesus stories, and you guys, what you're doing right now explains them very clearly, because Jesus, when he tried to talk to the scribes and Pharisees, he explained himself very clearly, but all they had was more and more questions. They kept trying to trap him. Why do you guys remind me of that story?
Why are you relating yourself to Jesus? He spoke of reality.
I'm just
You're
telling
not.
a story. I'm
No,
just
no,
speaking of a
no, but
story, and
Jesus,
I'm
but
asking
Jesus
you a
never,
question.
yeah, and
I'm
I'm
at,
answering.
but
Jesus
didn't
never not answer a question.
he did answer questions, but the questions that he gave was unacceptable to them. That's why they crucified him in the story, because they didn't accept his answers.
But he did not violate the law of non-contradiction like you are.
Oh, okay. So here we go with some new tricks.
Why do you call it a trick? To have a logical discourse, you have to have meanings to terminology. You got to have words that mean things.
10th man, I hope you see what you're doing to yourself. You're exposing yourself today. I hope you see that.
I am asking questions that are not being answered. You're dancing around definitive terms because you do not place any value on a real material world called reality.
Are you talking about like how Christ danced around when they asked him questions, how he danced around and gave them answers that they couldn't understand? Are you talking about that type of dancing around, Mr. 10th man?
No, I think you're being a bit, I can't even think of the word, by going to Christ and the way he answered the Pharisees and Sadducees, I wouldn't say matches what you're doing today. We are being kind and gentle until it gets frustrating. And it's frustrating because you will not continue a conversation in terminology that most people use with each other. And then when I ask you why, you say, I don't care about truth. I don't care about falsehood. What the point is it to talk to you then?
Well, in the stories, 10th man, they got very frustrated with Jesus over his answers. They got very frustrated.
Well, just like we're getting frustrated with you.
Exactly. No further questions. I'm done with this conversation. I'll see you guys later.
See you later, Slick. You there, Anthony?
Yeah, that was the biggest pile of bullshit I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah. Yep. Total gish gallop. Just nothing.
I'd have to agree.
Personal
I honestly
dissection.
don't understand why that was even an issue.
Me neither. If anyone wants to know what the meaning of filibuster is, that would be.
The only person that I want to hear his answer is 10th man.
What's that?
You're the only one with a reasonable take on it. At least you had an explanation for why you were pulling it apart, or why you were pulling Slick's behavior apart.
Well, the reason I feel I have some sort of connection with Slick is because I've dealt with many people from a similar point of view. Slick has his own custom view of this. You have mentioned it before when you said, be careful not to go into sophism. I remember people in my past who have had these kinds of, and I can't use this of Slick because he doesn't like the word belief system, but experience, let's put it. And no matter what you do, it's like Teflon. They will not answer a question. It's just so hard to have a conversation. And you're just inquiring. You're just trying to figure out what they mean by the word experience, or what they mean by this, what they mean by that. And they just are very nebulous. And so then you have to do a little research. And when you do the research to see where this type of experience or belief system, if I may, for my sake, not his sake, comes from, you go into people who deny the existence of objective reality, and they It's really a bit of pantheism thrown in with God is the universe, and we're all part of this divine being, and it's a little bit of humanism where you can't tell me what to do. I am my own God. It gets very confusing unless you have a strict, like for example, Christian Science, Mary Baker Eddy. That they have a strict definition of how they view it. Okay, and then you would go to uh, several Hindu teachings, and they may vary from each other, but then they define it. But when you ask Slick to define it, he won't. He won't define it, which means you get stuck. Because how can someone say, I don't care about truth or falsehood, and be on the Flat Earth Debate talk show, and then he says he goes on these other shows to beat people up? Well, beat people up over what?
Yeah, it was the only thing that confused me when he said, I want to verify things, but you don't care about truth. It's kind of like trying to find truth if you're verifying something. If not, then just accept it what it is, and that's it. What do you need to verify anything for? Just go by your experience. I mean, I don't get it.
Yeah, and that's where I started to have a problem. As soon as he said he doesn't believe in truth or falsehood, then you're why are you here? You know, what's the point? I mean, there's a huge problem there. You know, I mean, experiences. If you're just going to experience, then don't say anything's wrong. You can't. That's why I was saying the garbage thing. He's saying Newton, all this is garbage. He's saying it's wrong. It's false. You know, he wouldn't admit that, and there's a huge problem there.
Well, let me tell
Well,
you.
I
Go
can
on. I'm sorry.
understand when Paul says, I mean, when he says that, all right, let's say what Newton did was garbage, right? Because if, let's say, gravity is not really a thing,
Oh wow, stepped away for a few seconds and everybody's vanished. Guess that is definitely the point I have to round out the after show then. So with that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this show possible. And of course a massive thank you to all of you in the premiering audience for putting up with this dead air while I run away for a few moments. Whew, just catch my breath back. If you need something to keep you occupied after this premiering stream is over, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Hey Slit, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
What happened? I only stepped away for 2 minutes.
I don't know. I just logged back in.
Oh, right, okay. I stepped away to tend to my wife. Well, actually get some milk and a cup of tea for her. Came back and I was like, oh, the panel's empty.
Yes, I see that. What happened?
Okay. Well, I was literally rounding out the show, so I'll do exactly that now. So with that, I will say a massive thank you again to all of the live audience, no premiering audience, for tuning in, sharing, subscribing, liking, commenting, sharing, smashing the super chat if you've done so, hopefully so. A massive thanks if you did. Again, if you need to keep yourself occupied after this premiering stream is over, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!